Tyson. Okay, let's talk about it. He is a boxer, right? He's a boxer. We know him from like these major instances in his life, right? The biggest thing is him biting a piece of that man's ear off. I think it was Holyfield. Was it Holyfield? I can't even remember how old I was. I think I was pretty young when it happened, but he bit a piece of that man's ear off. And it's like he probably wasn't all the way, his mental probably wasn't good then, of course, right? But ever since then, I feel like maybe he has gone a little bit more downhill. So we know him from biting a piece of Holyfield's ear off. We know him from we heard about issues that he had with Robin Givens, and this was a long time ago, right? Where he couldn't keep his hands to himself, right? Those were the alleged rumors going on then. And then in the podcast, he mentioned that he went to jail for 3 years. For I'm not going to, you guys can look that up. I'm not going to say what it was because this is YouTube. I don't want my video to get flagged. But he went to jail for 3 years. Now, his therapist, his name is Sino. I think that's how you pronounce it, Sino. And he is primarily an addiction therapist. And so, he kind of talked about a little bit about his story, and he kind of got into how he and Mike Tyson became friends and how he came to be involved in Mike Tyson's life and kind of helping him and things like that. And what I'll say is that with most addiction therapists, you will find that most of them are recovering. They are in the recovery stage. And it's kind of like, what better person to kind of help you through your recovery than someone that has been through it. So when you talk about trying to or empathizing with someone, they would be perfect for that because they have been through that. Now, not all addiction therapists are in recovery, but most of them you will find that they are. And so he kind of got into his story a little bit, how how his life came to be where it is now, and how he met Mike Tyson and how they kind of have gone through this friendship, right? And kind of holding each other accountable through this time. Now, he does have a co-host. I'm not really sure of his name. I didn't catch his name, but he talked about his own trauma and how his trauma kind of transferred over when he became a parent and things like that. So it was very interesting, but we will get into all of that. So again, his podcast is called Hot Boxing, and that is a great name. Like that's a good name, Mike. Like whoever came up with that name, that was a really good idea. It's very catchy. And so firstly, he kind of told Sino, like, tell everybody who I really am. And his therapist looked like he was kind of taken aback a little bit. He's like, okay, you really want me to get into it, right? And I think, of course, he had permission to kind of speak to the world really about Mike Tyson and, based on him being his therapist and his friend, it sounds like the information he was giving was more so of him being his friend, a little bit of what he discovered when being his therapist, but more so of his friend. And he told a story of, and y'all know I got my notes, don't play. He talked about one time when they were going to, like, he said they used to live together. And one time they went to dinner or somewhere, and they had like this thing where Mike, when he would get like scared or something like that, he would like tap him. And that's how Sino would know, like, okay, I need to kind of help him through whatever he's feeling or what's going on, right? And if you think about it, that's very interesting because this man is a boxer. He didn't knock folks out. Like, he'll knock you out. You scared of what? Right? But he said something that was so true when you really kind of look at the situation and people in the world that are perceived to be this way. He said, the baddest man needs help. And when he's saying bad, he doesn't mean literally like a bad person. Like he cold with it. Okay. He a cold cock you in your face. You know what I mean? Like he cold with this boxing. Like he'll hurt you for real. So, but he need help. Like he's not too famous or too huge in the world to be a person that, oh, I could figure it out all on my own, or oh, I never get into situations or find myself in situations where I feel scared, right? So this episode was kind of him being and I think based on the comments that I read, it sounds like in most episodes he's vulnerable and he's transparent, right? And they people appreciate him being that way. But for this episode, especially when you're talking about mental health and a Black man talking about his own mental health, how much more transparent can he get? How much more vulnerable can he get, right? So Sino kind of talked about, okay, this is how I would help him, like either they would get out of the situation or he'll be like, you good, you're good, like everything's fine, right? And so because people have perceived Mike to be based on all those three situations, probably more things, right? That he has done that would be viewed as a negative behavior, negative things, right? A negative way that he has responded to certain things. People perceive him to be like a bad person, or because he knows how to box really well, he's won so many fights and things like that, is that like nobody can touch him, right? Like he should be good. But he said, and Sino said as well, like he's just a scared person inside, right? And so he also then talked about his upbringing. He came from trauma. And I'll say, when you hear all these stories about mental health and with celebrities or anybody, most of the time, 9 times out of 10, it's some kind of trauma in their past that they have not dealt with or coped with, or not even that, they may not even realize or understand that they have been through a traumatic event or something that they experienced was considered traumatic, and that it affects how they behave and it affects their thoughts and emotions today, right? So he indicated that his family wasn't good, his mom wasn't good, whatever she was dealing with, she was not able to get out of it. And so based on her behavior, it affected him, right? And people got to realize that when you have kids, like everything that you do, like they know, more importantly, they can feel that something is not right. Something is not right. They can feel that you're not having a good day, right? They can feel that, mom ain't got it all together. Dad something ain't right. Like, why are we eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every night? You know what I'm saying? Like, or why am I not going to school? They can feel that something is not right. And so it affected him, right? And he didn't understand that until he got a little bit older. But because of that trauma, right? Luckily, and I'll say too, luckily he found something that will kind of like probably for a minute there distracted him from things that happened to him, that which was boxing. Because think about it, boxing is a way to get your frustration out. If you're feeling angry, if you're feeling frustrated, you go to the gym and you box, you know what I mean? Or if you were here in the fight, he could be whatever he thinking about, because nobody knows what he's thinking about when he in the ring, but whatever in his head or who he mad at from his trauma or childhood or whatever, he could be taking it out on that person, hence biting a piece of that man's ear off. Like that could coincide with that. Like he's those emotions got so extreme, and that he was not able to kind of control it. So because of that trauma, he has had to fight all of his life.